Hello, my name is KarQ. Welcome to the Marvel Rivals Hot Takes. We're like 2 or 3 days away from Season 2, which does begin on Friday, April 11th, early in the morning for most people. I think it's like, 9 a.m. UTC. Some of these hot takes are going to be referencing the patch notes that were released a week early, so they should be referencing what people are anticipating for Season 2 and whatnot. So here we go. What did you guys submit? Remember, these are in like a random order, so what did I get here? Hot take from the real George Lucas himself. Okay, Mr. Star Wars, most support players misuse their defensive ult. For example, 4 out of 5 times, it's actually not optimal to immediately counter a Luna, Cloak, or Invisible ult with another Luna, Cloak, or Invisible Woman ult. Support players, myself included, have a tendency to press Q. Q means your ultimate for the console players. Immediately when they hear another ultimate go off, even if they would have gotten much more value by kiting it and waiting for a better moment. This is not even a hot take at all. I'm surprised there's upvotes. This is like a standard support gameplay in hero shooters should be assessing the battlefield, reacting upon what you see. And a lot of times, like you said, 4 out of 5 times when you see an enemy use their defensive ult, not even an offensive ult. You're saying if they use a Luna, Cloak, and Invisible ult, you use your own? That's like not correct right away, because the longer you can wait and delay it, yours will last longer and will, like, you know, have a longer duration once theirs expires. So like waiting for the opportunity to use it there is much better, especially if you can be aggressive on it. Or don't even ult at all. If they're using like a very defensive ult, that means you're like pouring a lot of offense, right? And then that's why they're reacting with it. If it looks like you can convert off of it, then you can, like, with tempo and aggressively counter ult with a defensive ult to kind of make sure, you know, your offensive player stays alive in that fight. That could be correct, but you do have to like sit and wait. You don't sit there and just reactively press Q or press whatever your ultimate button is on controller right away. Read what's happening on the field, whether that's defensive or offensive. Like there's times where like the enemy Storm can ult or the Psylocke, and there's ways to survive it without using a defensive ult. So not a hot take, actually a good take for the support players or strategist players wanting to get better. Next hot take is Psylocke deserves the 5-star difficulty. Okay, first of all, who's looking at the difficulty chart and the stars? Well, maybe the new players do, so I say nobody very generally, so okay. Deserves the 5-star difficulty. Most people view her as an easy character because of her simplistic kit, but the real difficulty is gaining the experience and game knowledge needed to make her work, especially in higher levels of play. Okay, with that being said, like, you don't look at the star rating anymore in higher level of play regardless. This is mostly for complete noobs. Enemies and ally ult tracking, forcing enemy defensive ults, positioning, when to off angle, when to avoid attention, when to get attention, are just some of the things that would take hundreds of games on her and on the game in general, so you'll effectively use her as you rank up. I think all melee flanker heroes require 3 stars at minimum, in my opinion, simply because of the reasons you stated, to be effective. She's probably rated lower simply because her kit is like hit scan shots for the most part. She's got a couple dashes to get out, and her ultimate is press Q and press the ultimate, it just does the job for you. So I understand why they rated it for a complete beginner, but like past that, the stars mean nothing, the difficulty stars. So I don't know about 5 stars. I think you could probably keep her at, I don't even know what she is right now. See, that's what I mean. I don't even look at the star rating at all. So for complete beginners, I don't know what it is, so I'm just gonna actually guess right now she's probably rated 3 stars. Does that sound about right? We can fact check that later. No, I don't think she deserves 5 stars. Probably 4 at most. I think there's actually much harder heroes to play at the higher level that do the same thing as Psylocke. Okay, here's one with actually decent upvotes. Hot take, characters like Black Panther and Spider-Man need to stay weak. It's similar to Black Widow. Being one-shot comboed constantly by Black Panther coming out of nowhere and moving faster than you can consistently track is extremely unfun to deal with, especially at lower ranks when players don't communicate vocally as often. Black Panther has to stay as a tickle monster, because if he didn't and could one-shot a backline even when they played together, he'd be unstoppable in anything slightly less coordinated. I actually somewhat agree with this. Black Panther and Spider-Man kind of remind me of like the Master Yi, if you guys played League. It's like can stomp noobs because they don't know how to deal with them, but like at higher levels of play, I don't think heroes like Master Yi or Black Panther and Spider-Man need to be top of the meta, and honestly they aren't. So I actually think they're in an okay spot, although arguably Spider-Man is like running around way more in higher ranks and higher levels of play, arguably because of the team up. The invincibility button kind of like opens him up like crazy, and he's got the crazy uppercut hitbox, which is very forgiving. I actually think we mentioned this in the previous Reddit video with his uppercut being a 5-meter grace in an entire circle around him, and the only thing they should probably do to Spider-Man to make him more acceptable is make it so it's only in front of him in for the uppercut. Because like there's no way I should be looking at the target. You can have the 5-meter forgiveness, but make it like a half circle, you know? Like melee heroes with like no range are miserable to play, and you want to make the hero playable, but not so hard to deal with that, like, you know, so much BS. Like completely upcutting this person and getting the person behind you seems really bad on the receiving end. That being said, these heroes have a pretty high skill ceiling, and like, you know, while Spider-Man can be hard to deal with, every time you get a Spider-Man on your team, they somehow are going like 3 and 15, right? I see complaints about that all the time, and I think they're actually in a better spot than you would assume, apart from Spider-Man's team up with Venom, which is kind of what makes him oppressive. Black Panther is kind of like whatever after his nerfs. He's less tanky, and I actually think they addressed him pretty well. Like if he doesn't pull off the combo, like he needs to be able to do pretty lethal damage, or else he is the tickle monster. There's no point in playing him, and they nerfed his tankiness because you get way less shield health every time you use your abilities now. So yeah, I think they're in a spot where it's not like, you know, not super weak, but like they're just under like the median, and I think that's perfectly acceptable. Hot take. Wow, this one has a lot of upvotes. Adam Warlock's ultimate is perfect, literally perfectly balanced. It should be very hard to revive a teammate. People don't understand how boring it is to win a team fight and the enemy just comes right back. Overwatch showed a way to avoid revives in a hero shooter. I actually agree with it. There should be a downside to being mass res. There's a little bit of a window of opportunity, but the fact that they come back at a much lower HP, and it's not necessarily a mass res because there's a range limitation, is actually a pretty good way to do it. And even if somebody finds the res part, since they come back at such low HP, they're able to be comboed yet again. So like, I actually think they did the reses correct in this game with Adam Warlock. That being said, in the Season 2 patch, I think the reses now do percentage-based HP, so the tanks do come back with a little bit more HP, but he's getting nerfed in the other aspects of him. I think Soulbond's getting nerfed, if I'm not mistaken. So honestly, they're doing a pretty good job with Adam Warlock, so I'm down for that. Not a hot take. I understand why there's a lot of upvotes here. Hot take: the idea that PC players are better than console players overall is fabricated. Some of the heroes are definitely better or easier with mouse and keyboard, but with how many characters don't require amazing aim, but just game sense and knowledge of when to do what, the idea that you are overall more skilled because of the platform or method of playing is preposterous. Practice makes perfect regardless. In a general sense, yeah, I can agree with this. Not all PC players are better than console by any stretch. I did a scrim in Overwatch against the best console team when I was on a team last year with some really washed up Overwatch players, right? Like a lot of them were former pros except for me. We had like Apply, J3, Emong, and Custom. We played the best console team. We got absolutely smoked. And I think Jay has done content with console versus PC. And a lot of them are a lot closer than you think. Some PC players rinse them, but at the end of the day, console players are playing the same game, apart from what you said. Just like the mouse and keyboard makes probably playing Black Panther a lot easier on PC because you can swing your mouse wildly, but a lot of heroes don't need that, believe it or not. So your game sense and your understanding of the game doesn't change whether you switch from a mouse and keyboard to a controller, right? And like understanding the macro of when to use your abilities and when not to was infinitely more important than like doing some crazy mechanical play on a specific set of heroes. You can just opt to not play those heroes when you're a console team playing against a PC team, for example, right? So I agree. Hot take: ranked mode should be random characters only. What in the heck? You should have a wider character pool across different roles to advance up the rankings. This would effectively remove the one-trick ponies. P.S. I would know this would actually never happen, by the way. This is just another mode. Mystery heroes, or in Street Fighter they do like random select. I think that's a fun separate mode, but there's no way ranked mode should be random characters only. And also like a true ranked mode with random characters have to be roll lock 2-2-2, and like sometimes you roll the dice and you don't get a good comp. Feels kind of bad. So like, you're right, it will never happen, and I don't think there should be a mode like that. No one's gonna play it, but like a fun casual mystery heroes mode might actually be okay. Next hot take: all flying heroes should have Iron Man like flight, and all movement abilities should be infinite in duration, like Captain's Run. They're all supposed to be superpowered, at least peak human, and being able to web swing or fly around constantly would bring more of that feeling to the game. And if all characters have movement, none of them will be too unbalanced. Some may not have abilities other than running or jumping like Hulk. I disagree. I think that makes them all too homogenous. It would make all the flyers feel too similar, and I think each of them are unique in their own way, where Iron Man has a limitation a little bit in terms of like getting that little speed boost where he gets to fly, and then you burn the meter, and then Storm kind of floats a little bit, and they all have different aerial move speeds. I think that brings a uniqueness to it, and I don't think they need to be the same. The idea of them being superpowered or peak human is like playing into the hero fantasy of the heroes, and like some of them break some of their general hero fantasy to do certain moves and stuff, and I think it's okay to kind of like go past that in some cases. But, you know, if we have too much like infinite movement, you run into some big problems because you have no way to kind of stop or slow them down sometimes. Like being able to swing around constantly for Spider-Man feels like you should just play the freaking like Into the Spider-Verse or like the Miles Morales actual Spider-Man game itself, rather than, you know, playing a hero shooter where there needs to be some sort of restraints or some sort of framework. So like you're not breaking the boundaries of like, you know, I'm playing a slow ass, you know, Adam Warlock with no ability, but this Spider-Man can just infinitely do this. Like, nah, I don't know. No. Hot take: if you nerf gamepad friendly characters like Cloak and Dagger, Scarlet Witch, etc., you will lose a lot of console players. You maybe don't even care about losing those players, but for the owners of the game and their profits, console players are extremely important. So it's more profitable that they will add more characters like that rather than nerf them. I don't think nerfing them will make you lose console players, but rather it's more important to actually bring very accessible heroes with very low mechanical kind of like aim, because you're obviously playing on a controller. You're limited to just what your thumbstick to kind of like rotate your aim. You can play on a high sensitivity, but you want to have accessible heroes for everybody, and having easy to aim heroes makes them, you know, very viable and strong on these platforms, and also for people who have maybe injuries or disabilities. I mentioned this before, but like one of the things that made Overwatch really friendly as a hero shooter game style is the fact that you had heroes like Moira who play very similarly to Scarlet Witch and Cloak and Dagger on Dagger form, and people with wrist injuries, RSIs, all that stuff are able to play the game and enjoy a shooter game without having to actually like shoot. A lot of forgiveness in the aim, and that's okay. That being said, you don't want to absolutely nerf these heroes to the ground, but heroes like this who don't have like crazy mechanical aim can't be like too powerful, so like they have to be at an appropriate power level, and I think they're both in a pretty decent spot right now. I know Cloak and Dagger doesn't perform too well on PC high ranks, but I'm pretty sure on console she does great, so like that's fine. Also, side note, I actually think the game could have separate bounds for console and PC. They do that in Overwatch, where some heroes have like a bit more forgiveness, or like Torbjorn's turret, which is for the non-Overwatch players, like a deployable thing that just shoots. It's like Namor squids, but they do less damage on console because it's like so freaking annoying, because aiming and trying to break them is harder on console, so they've nerfed it specifically for it. They could opt for that idea, but then you run into, I don't know if zimming is a problem in this game, but hopefully not with the aim assist. I'm just throwing out some options now. I'm just rambling. Moving on. Hot take: characters like Wolverine and Hulk genuinely aren't great, and they still get banned 80% of the time in GM because pros and streamers can pop off with them in scrims or in Celestial. I'd rather much be banning supports like Cloak and Luna, who make the game a boring grind match, or Storm, who has a win button as an ult. I'll take the chance. It's a 1 in a 10,000 Hulk player with the mid Iron Man team up, then triple immortality ult. This is the opinion of a console Wolverine GM player. I disagree. Wolverine is a tanky duelist. He can shred certain tanks and makes some tanks very hard to play when you have to deal with him. His leap is basically a long ass stun, right? If you think about it, they can't press any buttons, and then if he combos it with his ultimate, they're pretty much stunned again. Crazy good percentage damage. He's very durable. I think Wolverine is great, and I think he gets banned not because of a pro and streamer banning them specifically, but because I think the tank players, you're the Wolverine player trying to spread the Wolverine isn't great propaganda, but like he's genuinely very annoying to deal with when you play like Groot, or you play like, I don't know, Doctor Strange. Hulk is like in a spot where he got nerfed a little bit and he stopped getting played near the latter half of the season, especially because they decoupled, not because of the team up with Iron Man, but because of Doctor Strange. His damage breakpoint to one-shot people with his Maelstrom, his little explosion thing, with after you Eye of Agamotto, got like broken off from it, so that you didn't need to ban Hulk anymore. He was mostly banned because the Hulk Strange gave Strange the one shot after Agamotto. It was obviously with the Iron Man in season 0, but after the like Iron Man's like subtle nerfs with the AC 130 sound, he just doesn't get played anymore. And after the buff to Hela, so it's less about that. And I actually think Hulk is like really good. He's gonna get buffed in season 2. Buffs to his movement speed. He can jump way more frequently. Bubble cooldown is shorter. That's really good. And it makes the Namor team up have the green squid now. He's gonna get banned again, because he's going to be very good. So maybe you'll be able to get a chance to play some Wolverine now, but I assume Hulk will get banned every game, and maybe Emma Frost too. Hot take: middle of the table ranked is in a really bad place right now. Games are rarely even, and either your team rolls or the other team, you get obliterated. You'll maybe get one close game a day. While climbing also ran into an ult account every other game. I don't believe that is healthy for the game as a whole. I mean, you're not wrong. Like, remember we saw the graph where there's more Grandmaster players than Diamond and Plat. Theoretically, there should be more in the middle. It should be a graph that looks like more players peaking around gold for most other hero shooters or other titles with similar structure, and then it tapers off. But the graph looks like this, where it's way too many people in the middle, and even more at the end in GM, apparently. Then it tapers off near the end. So your middle ranks, you just get a complete dice roll on who you're playing with, and the reason why the graph looks like that is because of the gains versus losses, which is a debate we've had over and over again on this channel and all over the Marvel Rivals community. They need to tighten up on the matchmaking there so that you don't get these these very one-sided sloppy games where you have either A, alternate accounts, or B, people who kind of just made their way up to a rank by simply grinding. I'm not going to exaggerate and be like, if you can climb with a negative win rate of 33%, like you still have to pull your weight, but like a 46% win rate. 46 wins, 54 losses is like -8, but you're climbing. You know what I mean? Some examples like that. And then they're kind of just like doing the bare minimum. So you just get very big swingy games. There's also like stacking, so like you'll run into like a 4 stack, things like that just make the experience very lopsided sometimes. So I think they do need to tighten the matchmaking a lot beginning in season 2. Hot take, wow, this text is massive. The mid-season rank reset should have happened. This is because the latter half of the season's matchmaking was completely wild and everything got exposed once people kind of like gradually got to the ranks. I remember early on, the first people hit Celestial, no one really like batted an eye yet, but once all the top players made it out and into the one above all and like high into middle and high eternity, and then the rest of the ranks slowly shifted the curve up, that's where they felt it the most. And maybe the mid-season rank reset should have happened to kind of push it back a bit, but that's only a band-aid fix. If the algorithm is still the same, all that does is just set you guys back just a little bit, and then near the end of the season the same problem would have happened right now. We're in the final 3 days of the season, but you would have felt this exact same thing in the last 2 weeks regardless of the reset or not. Once people started playing and like pushing back to where they were, same thing. It's less about the mid-rank reset in the season and more about a restructure of their matchmaking algorithm. Hot take, adding more vanguards will never solve the nobody wants to play tank epidemic. Right now we have less than 10 tanks, but so is the same for strategists, yet there isn't a game without 2 or 3. Also, all the tanks have different playstyles and can all be effective, yet there is still the solo tank epidemic. To me, the reason is pretty simple. Vanguard is by far the toughest role in the game. It doesn't require too much of mechanical skill, but you have to be good at everything while keeping a bird's eye view of where everybody is, all while being on the front line or flanking depending on your character and having to peel. For most people, it's just too much, so they just prefer healing whoever needs it or try to be the main character doing the most damage. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. I mean, this isn't a hot take. This is what I say and what everybody says. Tanking is a thankless job. It doesn't feel as rewarding. You don't get the same dopamine hits as playing Duelist. Sometimes it doesn't feel like you're contributing by just standing there and holding a shield up, but you really are, but you just don't get that visceral feeling. So tanks are just generally unpopular no matter what game you play, whether it's MMOs or hero shooters. That's just the way the cookie crumbles. This one has some upvotes. My hot take is that Hulk and his moveset isn't that comic inaccurate. I see a lot of people complain about his moves, but a lot of them have appeared in Hulk media. The main one that pisses me off is people saying that Hulk shouldn't clap when the thunderclap is arguably his second most iconic attack behind the Hulk smash. Hulk also has a history of shouting to cause damage also, but both are stylized as being amplified and stylized by the gamma radiation, so they appear different. I do feel they should change the world breaker animation so the final hit is the iconic Hulk smash and make his base movement speed, aside from the incredible leap, higher. But other than that, they nailed how this particular version of Hulk should play. I haven't seen a lot of people complain about that, but maybe it's because I'm not on that side of the community who was really like invested in the Marvel lore and Marvel comics to see how Marvel Rivals did in terms of like translating their actual fantasy and their canon written characters into this game. So this is news to me, but like your suggestion on making the final part of his ult do the iconic Hulk, like as someone who doesn't follow Marvel, I know what the Hulk smash is, and I thought that was what it was when he ults. The only problem is nobody actually presses that part of the ultimate as Hulk. It's better to just actually use his neutral kit outside of that while he pops his like big transformation ult, because it just locks you in that animation and you're just a big hitbox to get shot at. So like they should probably shorten that final smash, like just do a big smash and just call it there instead of this thingy where you don't even kill them half the time, where you just stand in one spot for the world breaker. Then you mentioned making his base movement faster aside from incredible leap, but they actually did that. This is obviously screenshotted 9 days ago when my editor sent me this, and now in season 2 Hulk gets shorter cooldowns or shorter time to charge up his incredible leap, and he has higher base movement speed, so your wish has been granted. Next, the ranking system is crap. You should not be able to rank up on a sub 50% win rate. Yep, been there, done that, covered this already. I am Groot. Okay, next one. Most of the player base is terrible and their opinions on balance should be ignored. The general population of a player base doesn't know what they actually want, and this is not just a Marvel Rivals thing, this is like every game. But there is some merit to it. Like, you have to not necessarily balance based on back-end statistics. You have to take into consideration how people feel. So it has to be a small portion of the pie when considering balance. But you're right, a lot of them should be ignored because a lot of the opinions aren't great, but like that's what we get. When 99% of your player base mentions that this thing is annoying, even statistically, if it isn't like OP, maybe you have to consider doing something about it, because at the end of the day, you want player retention, people to be happy. However they perceive it to be is sometimes more important than objective stuff. All right, and that's it for this week's hot takes. We'll have a lot more for the beginning of season 2. This is just the final episode. Before that, watch the patch video coming out soon. Bye.